Alright, let me get back to part two. So, part two is about women in public life. Before the Civil War, American women were expected to devote their time to the home and family. By the late 19th and early 20th century, women were visible in the workforce. Domestic workers. Before the turn of the century, women without formal education contributed to the economic welfare of their families by doing their domestic work. 70% of women employed in 1870 were servants. Opportunities for women increased, especially in the cities. By 1900, 1 out of 5 women worked. The garment trade was very popular. Some women also worked in offices, department stores, and classrooms. Women are going to lead reform. Many of the leading progressive reformers are going to be women. And middle and upper class women also entered the public sphere as reformers, and many of these women will graduate from new women's colleges. By the late 19th century, marriage is no longer a women's only alternative. Colleges like Smith, Wellesley, and Vassar colleges accept women, whereas older schools like Columbia, Brown, and Harvard did not accept women. They created their own separate women's colleges. Many women that graduated from these schools never married. They wanted to retain their independence. Women reforms strove to improve working conditions at home and at school. Or at work and at home, I mean. And in 1896, we'll see American women will form the National Association of Colored Women. They organized kindergartens, nurseries, and literacy programs. Suffrage was another issue important for women. Suffrage is a term that means women's right to vote, or well, just the right to vote. Susan B. Anthony was a leading advocate for women's suffrage. And in 1869, Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, founded the National American Women's Suffrage Association, NASA. And many men are going to fear the changing role of women in society. Oops. And so, women are going to create a 3-part strategy for winning suffrage. First, they're going to try to convince state legislators to adopt the vote. This is going to succeed in Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, and Colorado. They're going to pursue court cases to test the 14th Amendment, and they're going to push for a national constitution. So what was the outcome? Well, in 1875, the Supreme Court ruled that women were indeed citizens, but denied that citizenship automatically allowed the right to vote. Alright, for the next 40 years, other measures will be voted down time and time again, and finally in 1919, this 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. Alright, so this here is a map that gives you all the states that had equal suffrage and the date, and then before 1920. So the first state to have equal suffrage was in Wyoming, 1869.